We got Nebraska at Colorado. Fox, big noon kickoff this Saturday. We look at this game a little bit differently based on what happened this past weekend, don't we? And I'm not talking about Nebraska. Nebraska, I think, actually played Minnesota pretty tough. Heartbreaker by nature of it being a one-score loss and turning the ball over 4 times. We'll talk about Nebraska here in a second. But for Coach Prime and company, the question is, do you believe? That was what Deion Sanders was asking the entire media in Fort Worth. Do you believe now? Well, if you don't believe, I don't think that's unreasonable. It's a small sample size. But they put forth a pretty strong sample size, regardless of how small it is, against a ranked TCU team that played for a national title this past season. So we'll break this one down. Colorado is favored by 3 points. A lot to get into here. Nebraska's trying to hit the refresh button a little bit from that tough go on I believe it was a Thursday night. Yes, Thursday night. A lot of games. Got to keep them all straight. The Rhule era has started. If you want to get back on track, you go beat a team with this much hype and this much buzz around them in Boulder, Colorado, with the eyes of the country upon you. That would be a good way to kind of get the mojo back, get the confidence going for a new staff, new team. That would be how you do it. Really quickly, though, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. We talk college football every single day. We got game predictions. We got analysis. We got picks. We got everything that you know and love about this game right here. Every single day, live 3 times a week is the hard count. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We appreciate you in advance for locking in, for being subscribed, and being part of this program. All right, so what are we watching for in this game? What are we watching for in this game? What's going to make the difference? And my thing is, how does Nebraska go about trying to defend Colorado now? Because remember, going into last week against TCU for Colorado, there was no tape on what they were going to do offensively. You brought in 80-plus new players through the portal. Nobody had seen this staff operate this offense. You're watching Kent State film if you're TCU, trying to figure out what they're going to do. But now there's some tape on them. So is the book out on Colorado? I don't know if I'd go that far, but tempo and team speed is so tough to match up with. And my concern for Nebraska is against Minnesota, saw a lot of man coverage. A lot of man coverage. And I'm not saying that you can't play that and be successful. I'm saying when you do play that, there is a very high potential for some big plays to happen. We saw Travis Hunter, what he can do. We saw Jimmy Horn Jr., what he can do. And I don't love the idea of just saying our guy versus your guy, we like our guy better. I don't think you want to do that with Travis Hunter being the best player on the field, regardless of if he's on offense or on defense. So I think what you need to do, if you're Nebraska, is try and dial it up a little bit. Try and dial it up a bit. Understand that these matchups on the outside probably aren't in your favor. So what do you got to do? You got to get Shedeur Sanders early and often. You got to make him uncomfortable. We got to get him off his launch point. And if we can do that and kind of speed up that shot clock for him, maybe, just maybe, we can try and negate the impact of what that wide receiver core brings to the table. So I'm curious, does Nebraska roll out their in-man coverage? The same thing they did last week. Now, it was Minnesota. Minnesota and how they operate, very different offensively from how Colorado and they operate. But still, the tempo with Colorado and how quickly they go, it makes it difficult to be on your P's and Q's and to dial up a pressure from the sideline. Going fast, a lot of communication has to happen to Nebraska's defense as Colorado's getting rolling. Curious to see how that works out. Because you could tell that first drive, especially, Colorado caught TCU slipping. And that was just kind of the way it went. They responded, scored over 40 points. Consistently was just the driving factor in that game. Very poised. Shaking up the poise for Nebraska is kind of the key to this whole thing. Now, my legit concern along with that is, can Nebraska score points with Colorado? Because I don't think this is a situation where we walk in here on Sunday morning talking about this game and say, man, what happened to Colorado's offense? What happened? How come they just disappeared? I don't think it's that kind of situation. I think Colorado's still going to score a lot of points. And for Nebraska, the burden then falls on Jeff Sims and company to be able to do 2 things. One, at least keep the ball out of Colorado's hands and try and utilize these new clock rules and take some time off the clock and just give them as few possessions as possible. That's one operation. The other is you can't give them more ammunition to go score points. Like, the margin for error here for Nebraska is very, very slim. So The question then becomes, can you run the football? Can you run the football if you're Nebraska? Because that's what they want to do. And honestly, we saw them do that really well against Minnesota, a defense that was really good a season ago. We'll see what they are this coming season. We'll see what they are in 2023. But Nebraska ran for 181 yards. That is Matt Rhule kind of football to a T. He loves lining up with the fullback. Nebraska fans love him lining up with the fullback. They love getting downhill and making you say uncle with their physicality. Now the question becomes for Colorado, can you stop the run? Because TCU's a good offense. I firmly believe that. Even though they lost the game, they scored over 40 points. Colorado allowed 262 rush yards. Is that the backbreaker in this game? I mean, is that the differentiating factor? Is Nebraska's able to just kind of control the tempo? It can't be if you're Colorado. That cannot be the case. So if this is a first to 50 kind of game, Colorado is absolutely winning this game. If it becomes a boxing match where it's the first person to throw a knockout, take Coach Prime and company every single time. Now, however, if it becomes a game of attrition, a game where it's like, hey, let's just get it to the fourth quarter, then Nebraska can kind of hang around. Then they start to wear on you. Then they hold the football, and then you get less possessions for Colorado. So to do that, though, like I was talking about a second ago, you cannot turn the football over. You cannot have 4 turnovers like you did last week. You have to play a very low margin for error style of game. So my question then going into this game, who handles the circumstances better from their previous week? There was so much talk about Colorado flying under the radar and being slept on and nobody believes. All of that is out the window now. All of that is out the window. Like I said, Colorado is favored by 3. I believe this opened with Nebraska being around a touchdown favorite in the preseason. People believe in Colorado now. Big noon kickoff, and Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson are all there because of what Colorado has built to. Now, they were probably already going to this game, but you hear what I'm saying. There's going to be more eyeballs on this game, on that broadcast, because of what they did last week. They removed a lot of doubt. They took a lot of skeptics and made them not just believers, but fans of what they're doing. Now, Nebraska, what happened last weekend, last Thursday, I suppose, it was a college football weekend for us, that stings. That stings, and it's very easy then to start going in the tank after you've had as many losses as a lot of those individuals in that locker room have had in the fashion they've had them. 1-score losses, 1-score rip your heart out of your chest kind of losses. Now, Matt Rhule is new to that. I don't think that's a trend that Matt Rhule has established as the guy at Nebraska, but you wonder where the locker room psyche is at after that one. And I think it's a little bit dangerous, to be honest with you, for Colorado, that Nebraska is kind of in that wounded animal sort of mode, if you will, that they're kind of limping into this one. And it's, Nebraska, going to turn the football over. They can't score many points on offense. Like, well, I guess we're just going to watch Colorado put up a highlight tape. Like, that number, it favors Colorado, but it's -3 for a reason. Colorado isn't getting like a touchdown here or more than that. Vegas still believes that this could be a somewhat close football game. Now, when it comes to this game, and I don't just mean this game in general, I mean college football as a whole, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes, right? Like, we all understand that. X's and O's, very much so a key part of what college football is, but it is all about who you have when you line up out there on Saturday. And when I look at Colorado's roster, when I look at Travis Hunter, when I look at Shedeur Sanders, that is a tough matchup for Nebraska. And like I talked about earlier in this preview segment, like when it comes down to scoring points, I don't trust Nebraska based on what I saw last week. Now, I could see them scoring more points than last week, but their one touchdown they had was on a broken trick play. So if I'm looking at how far they have to climb, I think they got some work to do there. And I don't think going to Boulder, Colorado, with the momentum that Colorado team has right now favors them. I think Travis Hunter has another big day. I think he just devours man coverage should Nebraska choose to play that against him. And I think that you just pour rocket fuel on what Coach Prime has going right now. I like Colorado to win this game. I like them to cover. I like the final score to be 34-24. I think Nebraska's going to be good eventually under Matt Rhule, but I think Colorado right now, what they have from a personnel standpoint, Travis Hunter, there's nobody better than him on the football field when they line up this coming Saturday, like Colorado, to get it done at home in Boulder with big noon kickoff on hand. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.